Hi, everyone. My name is Robyn Patrick, and I am on a path of recovery and discovery. And I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed and privileged to be here to share with you. When Tommy asked me to share my story, I was like, "Who, me? Do you have the wrong Robyn?" So I know the universe doesn't make mistakes, and there's a reason that I'm here speaking with you folks. And so I hope I can share some inspiration. So we are here to celebrate National Recovery Month, and on my topic today is going to be prioritizing self-care. Self-care has been huge for me in my recovery. This time around, it's not my first rodeo, but it has been an amazing journey thus far. My sobriety date is May the 1st, 2021. So I'm just coming up on 5 months. And once again, the journey has been, quite the way. So I just want to share a little background, not too much. I was born in Melbourne, Florida. I have one brother. He's 4 years older than me. He also has addiction on his side of the road. My dad graduated from Georgia Tech, was an engineer, did satellite installations, worked on the Cape, did a lot of stuff with the Minutemen and the space and this, that, and the other. And he's a teetotaler. Well, he doesn't have an alcohol issue. He may have one drink once a year, but it was never anything that was even in the house. My mom married my father the day he graduated college, and she's 5 years older than my dad, which I did not know about till I was in college, and that kind of came out. Um, she's a nurse anesthetist. That was her profession by trade, and she loved her job, and I grew up in a very loving home. When I was 4 years old, my dad decided to leave the space program and to venture out into a chain of convenience stores with another gentleman. And in doing so, we packed up the family. And I don't have a lot of memories from those first 4 years, little bits and pieces, of like having a rabbit and a neighbor and playing in the sandbox. But, I was very young. So we moved to Greenwood, South Carolina, and we lived in Greenwood, and his business partner lived in Anderson, about an hour away. And they each had a convenience store, which they started. And my mom continued on her path in nursing. And it was a great experience. Greenwood was fantastic. We had a cute little neighborhood. It was kind of like a Dennis the Menace neighborhood. Everybody played, everyone got along. You had cookouts and ice cream. And during that time, I got a horse for Christmas, a little pony, and I started my riding. And it was just playing cowboys and Indians running through the fields. And, life was good. We were in my elementary years, we were in a very small private school, and I guess we were very protected there from the real world. Uh, some of the rioting and the disruption had begun. So at the end of my fourth grade, we moved to Anderson, South Carolina, because my father's business was growing. And it wasn't the same neighborhood. We lived in a great big house, but it was busy, and it was nothing like where we had been living. So it was not a very easy adjustment for myself or my brother. I think it was more challenging for him because he was put into the public school system, and that is when a lot of the rioting was happening. And I know I can only imagine that it was quite scary for him during that time. I attended a Catholic school, so I got a little bit of a look at Catholic. I was raised Southern Baptist, so really complete opposite. Um, so anyway, childhood went pretty good. Like I said, there started to be a little more disruption in the family. My brother found marijuana, and that did not set well with my parents. There was a lot of lecturing that went on. He was very rebellious, and so the peace of the family shifted. Uh, my dad's business was growing quite well, and mom was doing well with her nursing. So from that aspect, things were good. They went on a vacation, and I'll just brief little trauma history. They went on a vacation to Hawaii, business class vacation, and my brother was responsible for taking me out to the farm to ride my horse. And he's being 4 years older. I was about 11 and a half when this happened. Him and a friend took me out to ride, and they took a detour, and on a small dirt road, and his friend raped me. They gave me some alcohol, which I'd never had, and it was very traumatic because my brother was present, and I felt very abandoned and scared. He didn't rescue me, and it really rocked my inner, I guess, my inner peace as a child. And I was told, don't tell. No one will believe you. You'll ruin your mom and dad's time in Hawaii, and they'll be mad at you for bringing them home with a story. So I kept that secret, you guys. I kept that until I was about 51 years old. And it played a lot into, I would, as those core wounds that we hear a lot about. So that was very huge. As I proceeded in high school, I got involved with some drinking. I was going out with a guy that was on the football team. So, things were good there. Graduated high school and went on to college at University of Georgia. I was quite the partying school. We were national champs that year. So Georgia was go dogs. Still my love there. And things were going good in college, sorority. I was trying to fit in, trying to still get my place. Dating was difficult for me, especially intimacy, because I didn't feel that it was just scary. So as long as I drank and consumed alcohol, that made that aspect of my relationship easier. Um, so I went on an exchange program at the University of Utah, and I met this older man there skiing, and he introduced me to cocaine, which I had never tried. And that was a whole new, wow, time for me. It also allowed me to drink more. And he was very cool. He knew cool people. He took me on cool vacations. Um, I kind of became his puppet, as a lot of his friends would refer to me, because whatever he said do, I would do. And if he said, take this suitcase on the trip, I'll meet you there, I would take it, not knowing what was inside. And I would always get a gift at the end. So, you know, I knew whatever I was doing and what I was doing, it wasn't right, but I wasn't willing to look at it that way. So I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest daughter, and that relationship was dissolved, thank goodness, because he was in a business that I did not want to raise a child in, and it was a heavy, lot of drugs, and he was high up in that area. So I did manage to get out of that, and I went back and finished school, and things continued to go pretty good. I got married, and I married a really good person, and I was working in insurance at the time, but I always wanted to be a flight attendant. That just had not happened at that point. And then he was killed on a wave runner, and the wave runner was a gift that had been given to me, so I felt it was my fault. So I carried a lot of guilt and shame after his death. And I kind of would just jump into a different relationship thinking that would be better. And so anyways, I ended up getting hired by Northwest Airlines in 1989, and that was like my dream job. I had arrived, everything was wonderful. I was traveling, I was flying. I had gotten involved in another relationship, and I did get remarried, and we had a daughter. So whenever I was working, the kids, he took care of the children. And we moved to Hawaii, where I spent 13 years. My drinking escalated on my layovers because that's kind of what we did. I was flying all international, and you had like 24 hours, and that's kind of what the crew did. You got in and you would drink and you would party, and you had plenty of time to, sober up before you flew again, because you never left Japan until late. So I kind of went through that. My marriage wasn't a good marriage. There was violence there. There was abuse, physical, sexual, mental. Toward the end, I was drinking a good bit. And I had a few people that were working on the employee assist program through our union that were concerned about me, as well as some of my friends. Had lost a lot of weight. I'm not a big person anyway, and I had dropped down tremendously in weight. I would come through customs, and I would have these two friends that would wait for me that were, fellow flight attendants, and they would go, what's going on, Robyn? What's going on? People are concerned about you. And I was like, no, I'm fine. It's just my marriage. I would have these excuses, and I would say this is one of the people that was like my angel. He says, you know what, Robyn, call me when you're tired of dying. And I was like, oh, the sensitive little alcoholic that I didn't want to believe I was like, oh my gosh, how dare you? That was so hurtful. But in reality, it was true. I was, I was killing myself. And so I finally did get to that point where I asked for help. And that was in 2004. And I went to Passages in Malibu, California. Very, very small at the time. They only took 12 people. The founder of Passages, he did the intake, he led meditation. We did Tai Chi and yoga and a lot of one-on-one. I had a spiritual advisor, and they were still doing 12-step work then. Now their modalities are different. And I went straight back to Hawaii and did everything I was told to do. I got a fantastic sponsor. I worked the steps. I was active in the community with AA. I was loving life. I got involved in another relationship that was healthy. And I was putting on the years in recovery, and I was doing the work, and I was seeing the rewards. I was asked to join the Employee Assist program, the one that helped save my life. And at that point, I was helping other flight attendants get treatment and help if they needed it prior to them losing their job. So that was kind of like doing my 12-step work. I got married to a wonderful man. He was a pilot that I'd known for a long time, and we had a very, very good marriage. It was the first marriage I had completely without alcohol, and I learned how to have a relationship with another man without alcohol, and it was really wonderful. I relapsed after about 6 years. We had lost our union, so my 12-step work went away because we merged with Delta, and we didn't have that union. So I kind of let my recovery slip. I would move to San Diego, and I was just kind of winging it. I was doing well, I thought, and then I relapsed and got back on track, and was doing pretty good until 2013. I had started running marathons. I ran one marathon in 2012, and I qualified for Boston. I had never really been much of a distance runner until 2012. And so I went to Boston in 2013, and that was the year that the bombings happened at the finish line. And I had finished the race and gone back to the finish line. My parents were there. My husband at the time was there, and they were all at the family area, which was about 3/4 of a mile away. So I was only around 20 to 30 yards away from the finish line when the bombs went off. And it was extremely traumatic. It literally, rocked my world, my grounding, my footing, tremendous amount of PTSD. And thankfully, my parents weren't even aware of it at the time. So I came back, and instead of getting help for myself, I just kept saying I was okay. I would cover up my true feelings. I once again started telling secrets about what was going on internally. I would have a nightmare, and instead of saying it was a nightmare and I woke up in a cold sweat, it was, oh, I'm going through menopause, or whatever excuse I could make to not really face the reality of what was happening. And I relapsed and went back to Passages. The founder, Chris Prentice, who a dear friend, he said, please come, let me help you. And to make a short story, I went back, and my spiritual advisor there was Aka, who does the Recovery 2.0. He does the Sunday sessions, and that was my spiritual advisor back then. So anyways, I kind of bounced around in recovery off and on. I could not stay sober because I couldn't be honest with myself and with others. And my marriage fell apart. And I moved back to the East Coast, transferred to New York. And I was just kind of bouncing around, if I relapsed, I would just take time off work, go to treatment, try to get back on track. It was just a roller coaster. And then my dad got ill with Alzheimer's, and that was very challenging. He took a couple falls with literally fell on his head, was unconscious. And when he did that and he was bleeding, all I was doing was flashing back with stuff that had happened at Boston. So it really became quite the challenge, and I just wasn't getting recovery. I could go to treatment, stay sober, and then relapse, go to treatment, stay sober, relapse. And I I had the opportunity to retire. They were offering an early out, which I took because I was afraid if I stayed at work, something was bad was going to happen because I could not trust myself anymore. And I didn't know when I was going to pick up. And if I did, how much I would drink, where I would end up. I didn't know what I just didn't know. And so I did take the out and retired. And about a year ago, I stumbled across Recovery 2.0, and I was just on Facebook, and it was one of these, invites to join, take this challenge. I think then it was a 14-day challenge. And, I dived into that, and I started doing the morning practice challenge with the satna, and I didn't know what that was. I got back into meditating, and I did that challenge every day, and I found I loved being on my mat. I loved doing that and connecting with the universe and myself and the breath work. So it really became a staple. And I still was struggling. I did the 8-week awakening I think it started in November. And I was living by myself, but I was getting a little bit of time. I was accumulating some time. And the problem I was having with that was uh, I was doing okay because COVID had hit, and I couldn't go to meetings, and I was doing the R2O meetings and really enjoying all of that. And my dad moved to a different facility because he needed more care, and my mom moved in with me. And my mom will be 93 on the 29th, and today is my dad's 88th birthday. Bless them. So grateful. And so my mom moved in with me, which was great. I thought, this is my chance to take care of my mom. Oh my gosh, if I could just give back to my mom everything she's given to me and be there for her. So I went to that caregiver role, and I really wasn't the caregiver, but I assumed it. And the codependency was unbelievable. So to make a long story short, I started spending so much time trying to do everything for mom and make sure this, that, and the other, that I wasn't taking care of me. So I did relapse, and my mom moved into the same facility with my dad, but in an assisted living. And I went back to treatment, and it gave me a chance to focus on me. I went to a place called Silver Ridge, which I hold very dear to my heart. I still check in with my aftercare coordinator every day. I'll get to that in a moment. And I also connected with sponsor / guide in the Recovery 2.0 community, and I started working with him, and he has been just amazing. So I came out, and I realized I didn't want to go back to treatment, and I was given the opportunity to move into a sober environment with a friend that I knew. And so I moved in. To he had a lower unit that he was willing to rent for me, and that worked out quite well because I have an apartment downstairs, and it was a sober home, and it gave me that safety and that feeling that I was safe. And so I was very, very grateful for that, and that's working quite well for me. Um, that being said, I did start working with my sponsor, and that was probably the best thing I could do. I worked the steps. I did the efforts. I went with the Herb K, and I was doing Herb K along with the efforts, and Tommy's book, which I absolutely love, and going to meetings and being a part of this community. I just became so involved in it. So getting to the self-care, that is what, with doing my work with my guide. He said, always go back to, he would give me these keys. And he said, your first key is going to be prioritizing self-care. And I always thought of self-care as a little selfish, but it's absolutely the opposite. Because if I don't take care of my recovery, I can't be there for anyone else. I can't be there for myself. I can't be there for my parents. I can't be there for my friends. I can't be there for my little dog. I can't be there for anyone. So I really learned what self-care was about. And I came up, at his suggestion, some items that you consider non-negotiable as a part of your recovery. And so I have these items that I do, these non-negotiable things that I do daily to keep myself right side up. and to keep my sail going in a good direction and not waver around all over the place. I get up early. I make my bed real quick. I splash some water on my face. I drink a glass of water with most of the time with lemon and a little of sea salt in there. I go to my mat and I begin my practice. I still go to the Recovery 2.0 morning satnamas and I look at what Tommy has to offer because he puts a new one out there every month. I really love the No Cell Left Behind. That's just my rock. So I love to hear that voice every morning, the encouragement, the going through the chant that I do at the beginning and the breath work that I have learned through Recovery 2.0, the breath workshops and learning the importance of how important going back to breathing is. And uh, I do the espresso breath every morning for 3 minutes to get my energy level up. And I learned a lot about breath of fire and, the different ones that can help you get through when those thoughts come in. I don't really have any thoughts, and I don't know that I have completed my steps with my guide. I have a few amends that are still kind of on the wayside, waiting. They're in the parking lot waiting. I put it out there. It's just a matter of that waiting. I did a couple things. I did a wellness, like a 5-day online course. It was Tommy. It was um, Nikki Myers. It was Ralph Gates, and it was really, really good. It was a recovery based. I think it was like 30 hours. I did that. I went down to Mexico on a recovery retreat. Tommy and Kia were there hosting, so I'd never met them in person. And I didn't know what to expect. I'm not like a real good yoga. I'm thinking, I don't know all the poses. How am I going to go through this? But, I don't know what I don't know. And so I had no expectations going down there. And it was just the emergence of being down in the morning, the practice, the kirtan, the music, the singing, the oneness, the sessions every single day. And I had, the day before I left, I had a huge spiritual awakening that day. I was doing a practice. There was a monk there, and I was doing this early morning, and it was like it was almost like the top of the roof opened, and I just saw and felt light, and I had these little dragonflies. I mean, it was unbelievable. And afterwards, I asked Tommy if he could sit down and chat with me for a few minutes, and we did, because I had something that was weighing on my heart that I really wanted to let go. And, he shared some hope with me and some suggestions. And it was just, I came back a different person. I mean, I really had a huge change within me. And it's so hard to explain because it was just so beautiful. And so, I just came back and continued to do these things. I just went to Joshua Tree last weekend with a couple of the friends that I had met down there, and it was a camping trip. I hadn't been camping in forever. The ground's much harder than I recall it being, but it was popping up the tent and, hiking around Joshua Tree with all of the stuff there, and it was just amazing. That oneness and hiking up and seeing the sunrise and going out and looking at the sunset and just looking at the dinosaurs had to roam around there. I mean, it's like it was just limitless. And I just feel so close to my higher power. My higher power for me is God. But it's the God of my understanding. It's not necessarily the God that I grew up with in my Southern Baptist upbringing. It's I came up with my own, what I believe him to be for me. And he's everything. And I've come so much to let go of so many things and just turn them over. I really have some control issues. I have some security issues. All of these were revealed through doing my step work, and I have to really keep a check on those. When I get fearful of my safety or my security, or feeling abandoned, my go-to, well, it used to be alcohol. Now it's still wanting to either isolate or maybe run. Well, what can I do? Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should go here. Um, And I have learned to pick the phone up and to call and ask for help when I get that out of sorts. Um, and if I'm ever feeling off balanced or I'm feeling just confused, because balance is my second key, keeping myself balanced. It's always go back to that first key, prioritizing self-care. So, nature's on my list, and my practice is on my list, my prayer, my meditation, my gratitude list. I still tap in with my aftercare counselor at Silver Ridge and give her what they call MEPS. How are you feeling mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? A number, a value, and a goal. I do that every day. It's part of my routine. Um, the family and had because of my relapse and taking care of my parents, they put some stipulations on visitation and phone calls. And at first I thought that was so harsh, but it's really been such a blessing. It's the challenges, the joys and challenges. I'm so grateful for those. And I met a wonderful woman that I guess you call her kind of like our mediator person. She works for a company, I believe it's called Sober Escorts, and she does intervention, flies places, does things. And, we've developed quite a relationship, and that's what I want to do someday. It was always what I wanted to do when I retired, was to be able to travel and help other people get help and go places with recovery. So all of that is things I can manifest today. And it's just, things are just happening. I read the promises every night, which are in the big book. And it was part of one of my, I think that was my 10th step. And, I was asked to read them and I had to look over them and, see what resonates that day and really, do some meditating on it and review my gratitude list, see if I've fallen short, what I can do better, make amends if I need to make amends, and, stay peaceful. I'm going to be going back to Mexico. I'm going to be doing 200-hour yoga training. That's something I never thought I would be doing. And then I'm going to be going down to Costa Rica with Recovery 2.0 over Thanksgiving. It's great to have something for me to do over the holidays, because holidays can always be a struggle for myself included. And then later coming in the next year, I'd like to go to India and continue working on, my training. So, all these things are possible, but only because of the grace of God, by being given and just being given this gift. I'm going to go see my father tomorrow and celebrate his birthday. And then we're going to be taking my mom, Jamie, the lady I spoke with you about, that's kind of like the mediator. She's wonderful and she's in recovery. And we're going to be going to getting an Airbnb and surprising my mom with a Clemson football party, and she has no clue. I'll be preparing her favorite dishes, shrimp and grits and fried green tomatoes. I mean, these are the gifts that I'm given from recovery, and getting on, I have a meeting that I help facilitate just because I have space, and I'm enjoying doing that as well. And, I just can't say enough about this program, and I will put in the chat my email and my phone number as well. I'll try to type that in there and hopefully not mess it up. And texting me or calling me is fine. I'm on the East Coast, but I really don't care, as long as we get all these scam things that come over on the phone. So like if someone texts and they just say, hey, this is so and so from Recovery 2.0 or from a meeting I heard you talking, I'll always respond. My phone is private, so no one else listens to it. It's just me. I think my dog might understand it sometime, but she's my other little blessing. So, if anyone would like to reach out, by all means. But anyways, I don't want to occupy too much more time. It's about 20 more minutes. As I said, things that I used to look at, like I have a nephew that's been kind of in charge of overseeing my dad, who my dad selected. And I used to think, well, that's not really fair. What about me? Why not me? Well, I hadn't been dependable in a long enough time he knew that would have been too much. I don't think my father ever thought it was going to come to this Alzheimer's, but, even at first I would balk at why him. And, I am so glad now I don't have to control all this. That's another blessing. I am grateful for these people. I am grateful for the people that I thought were against me. They weren't against me. They were just lessons that were there. And when I really look at the challenges as just lessons and things I can learn from, and let go of the anger or resentment or, you know, poor me. I don't like to go in that poor me pity party. It doesn't serve me well at all. Um, you know, I really, I love reaching out to you guys. I do a lot. I listen to a lot of meetings. I go to everything that Recovery 2 kind of has to offer pretty much. Monday Night Live, Thursday Q&A, Wednesday yoga. I've done the dance party, which was great. I attend Tuesdays sometimes. Sometimes I don't because I have a lot on Tuesdays. Sometimes I just need that break. I still meet with my guide every week for a little chit chat session. And, you know, I look at the spiritual principles and I try to live those in my daily life, not just read them and go, oh, yeah, those are there. But to really try to, you know, do what I feel that God would like for me to do, and to try to be kind and caring and loving. So anyways, that's pretty much it, you guys.